Today I'm going to show you how you can use your step sequencer. It's a totally different drum setup than what is original within the Kross. So it means that you can create much more drum stuff than you can now. The first thing that we'll see is we have 4 ingredients in the, I use the Combi mode. If you go to the Combi mode, you will see here step sequencer. Enter, and there you are. This is the first thing you see. The first thing you see here is that I use the different drum kit. Here you see the tempo resolution, so how quick the tempo goes, so it's very important. The length I try to use as much 64 as I can because it gives you more variations, possibilities, but it's harder to adjust real time. This is the step beats pro measurement, so that means that if you later on use the swing, it reacts differently, so before it reacts more aggressively. Next stage, here you can program all your ingredients, and you see here that there is this is not the normal way to set it up. So normally here's the kick and the hi-hat and all this stuff, and I completely get rid of it, but I'll show you later why. The little ones are the accents. So this is how you do it, and remember we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 layers we can use, and that's why I changed it all. 12, normally you hardly use it, but in this case you use everything, but for different purposes as originally designed. The next page, and this is where all you can see, normally you will see in 1 is the kick, and the 2 is the snare, and the 3 is the hi-hat or whatever, and I changed it to all, and you also will see here that it's different setup. It goes, you can see it goes from C-1 to D9 to G9, which means that I use, I'll explain later, the whole of a drum kit into the step sequencer. And the 4th is the velocity, which you hardly use. The swing you can use, but it's not always, it's live, it's possible, but not within a controlled environment. The accents are very important because here you see the accents on the down, and it means that if you do this, I'm not sure if it works now, but if you would turn them down, what happens is that the parts that you gave an accent, normally to give it more, like here, but now you go all the way down, and suddenly you hear that the whole thing changed it. You hear that the swing is already doing. So if you go to the accent now plus, you see, you hear it. That's what a difference it makes. But that's only because I put it to the max. So now we put the swing to the other side. It doesn't do that much, but now go back. You hear? So this is all live. So this is what you can do live. But you could do that in the old-fashioned way also, but you probably never did, because in the original Kross they don't make much of these kinds of drums. They use the drum track for this, but the drum track is always the same. So now you do it yourself. You can make any kind of drum you want. So it's here. But we go back to the first page, and there we have the first thing that is very, very important, and I will show you. So we go to exit SEC, which means we go to global media. I'll show you what happens. Menu, and then we go to the drum kit. And here you have the basic kit. I will go to my own kit, which is called Reel 2, and I'll show you what has happened here. First thing that happened, you have to understand that the drum kit goes from -1, here you see, all the way up to G9. And that means that you have about 127 spots in your drum kit, which you can use. And normally what they do is just make all these drum kits the same, so a bass drum is every time on the same spot, and so you can interchange all these drum kits. But I did it completely different. So what I did, because normally on -1 there's nothing, or always the same, but what I did, I divided these 127 into 12 regions, I would call it, 12 parts, which means every part has 10 or 11 spots. And then I did the same with the next thing. So the first 11 I filled up with all bass drums, which I particularly kind of the bass drums you want. You want dance bass drums or expressive ones or traditional ones, doesn't matter. It's up to you. You can make 15 drum kits, so that's enough space. So first 10 are bass drums. Then the second 10, so we go up, are snare drums. And then next are hi-hats and closed hi-hats. Then we have open hi-hats, and then we have closed hi-hats again, and we have open hi-hats, and then we have bass drum, and then we have a snare drums 10 again, and then we have variations, 4 kinds of variations. So all the way up to G9. So I made them all myself. There's also included samples, which I explained in the last video, that you can put in samples here. So if you go to the RAM, you will go to your sample base, and there you find your samples. Well, so samples, whatever, it's up to you what you use, but the main thing is you will use 127 spots but you have to just do it yourself. There's no example in the Kross, because they use a very different way. So what you have now is from 0 here, C-1 up to D9, all different sounds, but all in categories of 10 or 11. Let's say 10 duration, etc. So this is when you have this, call it Reel 2. Then we go back, exit active, to this step sequencer in the Combi mode, and there you see I use this drum kit. And now we go to the next page, and here you see it. What happens is I turn it around, so on spot 12 I use my first bass drum. So that's the bass drum, and there you can see it's from -1 till this one. It's all bass drums, so I can choose on the spot what I want to use. So if I go, let me see, to the menu, to the Combi, and this one, the number 11, number 16, this is where all the drums go into 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16. So this is 16. And now I go to the drum. Oh, let me stop. And here you have this first 4, 12, 11 and 10 and 9 is 16. So if I play, let me change the snare. You can see I can change the snare. I can change the hi-hats. I can change the bass drum. This can be done very easily also live. So now you have a completely different drum setup, but very simple. So the first 4 are, and now we're going to show you. So out again, exit. So we go to the combi mode, and you will see this is 16, and 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, and 10. And this is how you do it. Are all put to MIDI channel 16, which means that they all go to the step sequence, and suddenly you have 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11 and 10, which is 7 parts where you can use the drum. And then of course you can go back to your this, and then suddenly you have all these different timbres you can use in the combi mode, up to 7 or even more. You can so this one, for instance, what I do, this is very important, I'll show you. Now you have to go to the zone delay, because what I do is as I told you, the first 4, the bass drum, hi-hat, 2 hi-hat sounds and the snare, which is up to 40 sounds out of. So it means that the range is from C-1 up to G2. So this means that only these sounds will sound on timbre 16. So if I put 15, 14, 12, everything out, you only hear this bass drum. This is the only thing you hear, and nothing else. So number 15 goes from, this is hi-hat stuff, doesn't matter, so it's hi-hat stuff, so it's also only to the hi-hat, so I can show you. And this is on and on with 14, 13, all the way up, so I'll show you. Just a quick look. So, and of course the last one is up to G9. This is the last thing. So if you, this gives me 7 entry points to the drum kit, and that's why I use all the drum kits. So now we go to the combi mode again, and now I will show you that, for instance, here you have play, and now I put it out, so the whole drum stops. But now I want to have only one hi-hat, which I do on 15. And I can play any hi-hat I want here. I can just make my own hi-hat stuff with all different sounds, with all different whatever. And if you do it in the 64 steps, then you can make beautiful your own hi-hat. So very complicated, but and it's only the accents are for all but you can just make it your own. So now this is the hi-hat, but 14 is a bass drum. And so this is only a bass drum, so if you put out 15, you can only the bass drum 14. But the big difference with doing this from the step sequence in connection to the drum track is on the drum track you get only the same pattern as the drum track, but here you can play any pattern you like. So this is the bass drum, and then so this is a snare, and then you put in. So this is 13, 14, 15, which is also your own bass drum. So if you put them out, but you put on 16, you get 16 again. You can even play them, of course, together. Now you have 2 together, and you can, of course, also use the drum track, and then you get this. So now I put this out. This is now. So this is only the drum track. Put it out, 16 on. So you get very easily. You see? So now, for instance, we have 12, 11 and 10. And this, most of the times I use this for variations. You hear them already. So I will put the drum out. So this is, I'm not sure what's on 10, let me see. So this is on 12. And the nice thing is you can adjust. You can make anything you want, doesn't matter. So if you go like to in active, you go to 12, which is go down. I think it's this one. No, it's not this one. It's probably this one. Yes, yes. You can make anything you like. So we have this one. Go back to the menu. This is 12. Let's pan it a little bit. Okay. This is a sample. So, and this is our variation, just randomly. But the nice thing is you can, so if you do like this, now you can just put them on and off, and you have to drum again. And this is not, but this is, you cannot do this with only the sap sequence if you don't use it like this. So this is sort of how it works. We go back. So the first thing we have to do is you have to change your drum kit. So the first you have to do is change your drum kit, set it up that you have used from C-1 up to G9 to 127 spots, and put all the drum stuff you want in different layers, always 10 because we have 12 spots. You can see here we have 12 spots here where you can use, where you can assign your different drum stuff to. So you have 12 spots, so that makes it sort of 10. That's how it works. Then you get your drum kit together, then you go to the menu and go to zone delay. Be sure, you can see here that the timbre, you did here, you set up which part connects with which timbre. So we have 7, and then don't forget to put them all on MIDI channel 16. And now what you have, now you go back to exit active, and here you can set up with all the different sounds within your range, the different sounds you want to use for this particular part to play. Well, it's not easy to understand that, but I did this as good as I could. If you have questions, don't hesitate. Maybe in an email I can explain it later. Maybe I make another video as well, but thank you for watching.